Yo, what's good, everybody? Bren here, back with my boy for Loco. Hope everybody's having an amazing day. Um, Pretty fucking quiet few days, but I just wanted to come on here and stick to the stream schedule Tuesday and Friday. Fucking super stoked to be on with everybody here. I want to know, like always, I want to know where everybody's at in the world, um, and what everybody's up to. We're gonna go over the Bitcoin chart, kind of where how I see Bitcoin and the rest of the market playing out here to end the summer and to end the year. Kind of make a case for why I think we're going to get not only a huge crypto bull run, but NFT bull run, just a huge digital asset kind of super cycle, and why this dip we're getting right here is probably the final low before we really get the tipping point for alt meme coins, where it's very evident that we're so back right now. We just have coins like SPX, Pengu, a few others popping off, but I think we're going to get to a point here soon where a bunch of coins are going to have SPX type moves, and this dip here we were seeing on Bitcoin is kind of setting up for that. So before we get started, like I said, let me know where you guys are at in the chat. What country, what you're trading, what you guys have been up to. What's up, Miss D? I see you. What's up, Holy Father? What's up, Rahman? What's up, Toji? What's up, Rahab? Um, but yeah, this has been a pretty quiet week. I think we're starting to see a lot of people freak out again because of this Bitcoin dip. But before we get started, first of all, if you guys could like, comment, retweet, bookmark, always appreciated. Definitely helps. And for Loco, how you doing, brother?
Brand, my man, everything is good. Happy Friday. To be honest, just like you mentioned, if you think about like we are at the mid of August, today is August 15th. If you're in Europe, most people in most countries in Europe are on holidays, right? So, in fact, I believe the Fed and some institutions in the US are also taking August as a break, right? So, it's supposed to be a no news month. And I think you discussed it in the previous stream when you mentioned that August tends to be normally a pretty soft month for crypto in general. It's just like people are not there, less trading. There's really less like activity, going on in the trading markets, whether it's macro or crypto. But we actually surprisingly had, a very pretty much a good run up from Monday to till Wednesday until we got the PPI numbers. And I think that's the reason that we've had this dump, and we can discuss more about it if you want. I believe that people need to understand what PPI is and why that it does affect the market, and then perhaps from there we can see if this dip was what I call a regular dip after people are taking profits, or we reach all time highs, or perhaps a little bit of an abrupt, unforecasted type of like event that I believe in a few months we'll forget about. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely talk PPI, a few other things that happened this week. We had Besant as well say that they're not going to buy Bitcoin with a strategic reserve, which, if you read from they were saying for a while, it's always been that. They've always said that they're going to try to find ways to add Bitcoin to strategic reserve without using taxpayer money. So we'll talk about that. I see somebody wristbands. What's up, brother? Ostiper says, looking forward to hearing your profit taking strategies. So yeah, we're gonna go over Bitcoin memes, and then I'm gonna go over my personal profit taking strategy right now, or for like during this time right now where times are really quiet, but inevitably we are going to get a time where the market does pick up. And I think the number one skill that separates pretty much everybody is like profit taking. Everybody's, most people can find a good play every once in a while, but very few people are able to actually actualize those gains. So I'm going to go over my personal profit taking strategy. Hopefully, I'll be able to help some of you guys in here as well. But let's go over Bitcoin really quickly here. Another learning session before bull. What's up, Ramon? HRT, what's up, brother? So Bitcoin, obviously, Bitcoin right now was going up off of this low here on the second, was coming up, but was pretty choppy and corrective. I had noticed that probably around the 8th of August. Uh, what it is doing here the last few days, it is doing what I think is playing out is something very similar to the July correction that we see here, right? Where July came down and then the first corrective bounce came all the way back to the all-time high, almost, and then failed to break and then came back down for one more low at 99. I see something similar here playing out with Bitcoin where it came back to the all-time high. This time it broke just barely, rejected and is coming back down. I see something like this very likely playing out where we come back down, maybe in a corrective way where it's not straight down, but down here maybe a little bit of a bounce and then put in either a higher low where it doesn't take out that low, an equal low or a lower low, probably between 115 and like 110 if I had to guess. But either way, I think we're getting the last leg for this low, and we're going to see this correction play out very similar to July, where again, comes back down for one more low and then impulses to new all time highs. I think that's what we're going to see into the end of the year, August, September, probably September time, get a low, maybe before that, but probably, head higher into September, October. And I think we're going to have a really strong period for crypto and digital assets into the end of the year and into 2026. And for those of you who've been paying attention, obviously so far it's been mostly Bitcoin. ETH obviously has been fucking killing it. And then Pengu and Sol. So a lot of people right now, in my DMs at least, are kind of freaking out like, oh, are we ever going to have memes run again? Um, I would say that very likely what's going to happen here after this next Bitcoin run up is that Bitcoin's probably going to get a lot of media headlines. And we're going to probably see an influx of new capital into crypto, which would obviously ignite a huge wave in the meme coins. But even if we don't get that, I think on this next run here for Bitcoin, especially as ETH smashes through its all time high, we're going to start to see a tipping point for the memes and alts, kind of similar to what we got, late last year, where kind of everything, at least in AI and the strong meme coins are running. I think we're going to get that here soon. And I think there's still some great opportunities in meme coins and altcoins, which we'll go over here in a bit with Giga, and a lot of these other ones that haven't run yet. But yeah, that's how I see Bitcoin. Again, I think we're going to probably chop down here into the end of the month. I don't expect it to be a straight line down. As you've seen, it's already been kind of bouncy. But again, that's a good thing. We want to see corrective behavior into this low, which would probably, again, signifies that this is probably the last low before we head higher. And ETH the same way. ETH is honestly an even cleaner correction. It's in a mini kind of lower time frame corrective channel, whereas Bitcoin's still completing its higher time frame correction. ETH is still in this lower time frame correction. So I see something probably like this playing out for ETH, where it's going to see a bit of a bounce maybe, and then come back down maybe for one or two more lows before completing this correction and moving to new all-time highs. I think ETH is going to continue to dominate the majors, and very likely goes to 6, 7, 8, 10K, and very, very much higher in the long term. For me, just apart from this chart stuff we're looking at, like ETH is just obviously the biggest winner of the regulatory clarity. And I think a lot of people in finance and digital collectibles and so many other areas are going to be building on the chain now, that I see ETH just not only dominating crypto, but just going way higher from here. And then lastly, Sol. I made a tweet the other day. I would just really caution anybody to not pit ETH or Sol against each other right now. I think, yeah, obviously ETH is or Sol dominated for most of 24 and 25. But I think we're going to come into a time where a lot of crypto money is going to come into crypto from institutions and retail, to where ETH and Sol are going to do well. So I think Sol probably smashes 200, and then probably all time highs as well, either in Q4 or probably Q1 next year, and looking really good as well. XRP, a lot of these other alts. I think what we're going to enter is a period here pretty soon where, um, we're going to have like more of a traditional alt season where XRP, majors, memes, uh, creator coins, potentially stuff like that, are going to run at the same time. Due to, I think, normie capital, retail capital, I think is going to enter for the first time next year, or to end the year possibly. So, for Loco, I want to hear what if you have any thoughts on Bitcoin, or other than what I said. Maybe talk a little bit about, you talked about CPI, and maybe you think Bitcoin might be waiting on that. I mean, what are your thoughts overall?
Yeah, no, that's those are great points, Brian, and I agree with you. I believe that of course, Bitcoin will continue to do well, but we're already seeing Ethereum and the interest from institutions and TradFi to really accumulate these assets, and we know what they like to do. They like to do the reverse mergers or IPOs so that the bankers can make can make a significant return on with their investors, and that's the way I see it. More companies accumulating Bitcoin, Ethereum, and perhaps I know that the ETF for Solana decision was delayed until October, so we'll see what happens then. But I do believe this is a matter of time that Solana will undergo just the same as Ethereum.
Have
So
you
that's
read into
gonna.
it? Have you read into it? I think from what I was seeing, some people have the opinion that like obviously stuff like Pengu, but even Sol might not get an ETF right away because it hasn't reached their full like decentralization checklist or whatever. Like I think they have this whole like kind of system on decentralization that makes something a commodity based on nodes and a bunch of other stuff. I was wondering if you had read into that, and do you think Sol is like a for sure going to get an ETF on the first try?
I, I'm not sure if it's going to be in the first try, but we'll have to see until October. And at the end of the day, this administration has really shown a lot of, um, I would say, favorable ruling for pretty much everything related to crypto to not call it a security. But I do agree with you. Unless there's some really strong case, there could be a few back and forth, kind of like conversations in between SEC and other institutions about Solana being not being decentralized enough for it to become a commodity or ETF. But we'll have to see. I do believe that whether it has an ETF or not, companies will start to accumulate. Is this a strategy? You're seeing already a few of them. Cantor is a big. Cantor is one of the bigger, kind of like funds and research entities really accumulating Solana, and there's a few other ones that are already trading on the stock market that we can point out if needed.
Yeah,
But you make a good point. It might take a little bit longer, but just like XRP is also trying to do the same. And who uses XRP, right?
yeah,
It's also in the conversation. So yeah.
100%. Yeah, and if anybody, someone I've been learning a lot from recently is this guy Leo Lanza, who makes a lot of great content, a lot of great in-depth videos and tweets. But I really like his videos on Ethereum and kind of how institutionally, how Wall Street pretty much Wall Street is saying that they want to rebuild Wall Street on Ethereum, and he goes into all these different details and these different theories, and he thinks that Ethereum goes all to $80,000 in the coming years because again of everything that's going to be built on chain and how it's a platform and how tokenized stocks and bonds and digital collectibles and gaming and contracts and tickets, all these things are going to be put on chain, and in that world, he sees Ethereum going way higher than most people even imagine. And again, uh, I think a lot of people aren't really realizing too that AI, I've been learning too, is if we're going to have a world where AI is kind of doing a lot of the world's financial transactions autonomously, crypto is what they're going to be using, right? Smart contracts and all that, and most of that's going to be on Ethereum too. So AI, TradFi, digital collectibles, all these different things. It's very interesting. I could see a world where even Tom Lee said, he maybe sees Ethereum doing 100x from here and possibly flipping Bitcoin. That's kind of always been um, my kind of theory that eventually someday, whether it's in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, however long down the line, that Ethereum, the platform, and everything that can and is being built on it will be worth more in market cap eventually than Bitcoin, the digital gold. And who knows, maybe we're seeing that starting to play out now. ETH, Bitcoin. But yeah, check out Leo if you haven't already. Very smart dude. Real quickly, I want to look at ETH, Bitcoin. Haven't looked at it in a while. It is bouncing really hard here. Again, ETH, Bitcoin. Oh, oops. I think I dropped the screen. Give me 1 second. But yeah, ETH Bitcoin bouncing super hard, looks super impulsive. If it gets above 5.4, I think it probably is done, but I think it very likely goes back above the 2021 all-time highs, or not 2021 highs, and possibly tests those 0.15 highs from 2017. Again, I just see with everything going on Ethereum, very likely outperforms Bitcoin at least in the next few years. I like to think. What are your thoughts on that for Loco? Do you have like a strong opinion? You think Bitcoin continues to dominate. Your opinion slightly changed recently because of this move up. I mean, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think there's going to be periods like we saw last year where the Sol BTC chart looked like Solana was going to take over, and this year is Ethereum. I do think that Bitcoin, essentially is going to be the king. Whether it goes back to 65% in the dominance chart or it doesn't, that's a different conversation. But I do see that there's going to be different periods where alt and not crypto, not BTC will overperform. I don't know if that's going to play out for for the rest of the cycle, if you want to call it that way. But definitely, I see kind of like different periods of this cycle, whether that happens in the same way that has happened in the last 4 years or previous cycles, or it's just specific moments where they overperform Bitcoin. But eventually, I still think that Bitcoin is king, and it will retain a certain amount of dominance for the foreseeable future. That's how I see it. But we'll just have to see how the adoption plays out, and if institutions have appetite for other than the three top majors, maybe that changes. So yeah, it's definitely something to follow closely. Brian, you muted.
My bad. Thanks. I was muted. But the you're 100% right. Those are some great points. All it would take is like some country. I know the US said they're not, at least in the short term, going to directly add to the reserve. But, a country like China or Russia or even a mid-tier country like in size, if they announce a Bitcoin buy, who knows? Maybe Bitcoin or Bitcoin takes a nasty dip and continues down. I could see it going either way in the short term of either ETH or the Bitcoin narrative kind of dominating. I think we're really seeing a lot of momentum with the ETH narrative, with the Bitcoin treasury. I'm sorry, ETH treasury companies. they've already they've already done in the last couple months what I think Sailor did in a few years or something. They're moving really quickly. So, I don't know. I think the move is always to have a bag or a bit of both, or all three of these ETH, Bitcoin, and Sol in your portfolio, so that you can capture gains in all of these moments, right? But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I really think the ETH momentum probably does continue in the short term, but at the same time, I could see Bitcoin moving up as well. And in fact, if Bitcoin does move up with ETH, that is actually a great sign that the overall market still has a lot of legs left in it. So I want to catch up on
Yeah.
some questions really quickly. I see, or some comments. Zilla says you think Sol will hit 4 to 500 in Q4. In Q4 is tough, man. I never like to look at things in weeks or even like a few months period because the market is so volatile or so unpredictable in the short term. I like to think in further
Mhm.
out, like the next 6 months. I think ETH or Sol will be a lot higher from now. I think next year will be a
Yeah.
very strong year, right? Who knows if it plays out into Q1 but I think there's a good chance that Q4 is strong, but I think there's a very good chance that 2026 is very strong. So I would say in 2026, definitely could see Solana hitting a 500, which would only be 2x above all time highs. So definitely possible. What do you think would be the
Yeah.
next biggest catalyst for normies to come in? That's a great question, man. Zilla, the way from at least what I've seen. Before I answer this question, if you guys could please like, comment, retweet, bookmark the stream. If you're just hopping in, welcome. We're just talking a bit about Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, kind of how we see this dip playing out and why this is probably the last dip for Bitcoin before everything kind of takes off. So if you guys are new here, welcome. We do these streams twice a week, Tuesday and Fridays. And then we're probably going to add a Twitter space here pretty soon. But for now, Tuesdays and Fridays at 10 a.m. PST. But Zilla Taylor asks, what do you think will be the next big catalyst for normies to pull in? So there could be a number of things. I played last week on the stream Rect Mondo's video about how he is predicting that a public company, potentially like a Fortune 500 company, may launch a token in the next year, potentially by purchasing an NFT brand and doing it through there. Something like that would be really big. But traditionally, and I want to hear what For Loco might have to say, but traditionally, what I've noticed, Zilla, is that the biggest attention grabber in crypto, NFTs, whatever, is price go up, floor price or price going up. So that's usually what brings normies in is they see Bitcoin usually catching headlines at 150, 130, 140, 150K. And then they see their friends winning, making money off of meme coins or any kind of coins. That's usually the biggest driver of normies. So I think that probably does happen here soon. I think there's a lot of PTSD from FTX and from just 2021 NFT bull run, different stuff. But I think we finally are going to get that normie retail, whatever you want to call it, influx for the first time. And I think the biggest thing of why we might sustain this run is because of the regulatory clarity going on that allows founders to actually build real things in crypto. Of course, there's people who have built real things in crypto, but there's a lot of people. I'll say this: a lot of people who have been turned away from crypto because the regulatory framework is so gray area, and they saw Gary Gensler and the SEC like suing all these people. It just hasn't made sense for people to build like really building crypto unless you really are like a pioneer. And I think for the first time, we're actually going to see that where builders from outside of crypto may be able to launch an NFT collection to reward fans, or they may be able to launch a token or creator coin because they actually have regulatory frameworks. So I think all of those things in one, but usually price go up, man, is what drives normies. Meme coins are not doing so well, even though it's obvious we're in a bull season. Yeah, man. I would just say be patient. Usually is what we see, and most of these cycles is ETH, Bitcoin go up, and then memes, alts follow pretty shortly after. Sometimes it's a little different. Memes actually led Bitcoin last summer. I don't know if you guys remember, but generally in the next 6 months, next couple months, I think Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, and the strong memes are all going to dominate. And what I'm doing, just I haven't really touched on that today. I mean, what I've been doing really is just the same thing I've been doing for the last 3 to 6 months since we've been in this correction is just accumulating the great coins, DCAing. I've had the luxury of having a lot of dry powder, so DCAing into my 5 to 15 coins. Not 5 to 15. Right now, it's about 12 coins. Um, over the last 6 months, staying patient, getting better, doing these streams, stuff like that, not getting caught up in the fear and all that shit, and just waiting. And I think Holy Father and whoever else is asking something similar that August is usually a pretty quiet time in the markets in general, and I think to end the year, we're going to see a strong shift in that and momentum. Ramon says your insights have been a game changer. Thanks for always helping me navigate the crypto world with clarity. Yeah, no worries, Ramon. Appreciate you, bro. I believe XRP has more potential. Yeah, 10K ETH is not a matter of if, but when. Absolutely. In a bear market, do you prefer to DCA or wait for strong reversal signals? For me, bear market's a little different. Like bear market is like we haven't seen a traditional bear market since 2021. And for me, just DCAing, right? Everybody's different, but I think just DCAing in general, if we ever were to get like a big multi-year bear market again, um, but even in these mini bear markets in meme coins, I prefer the coins that I have really strong belief in. All these coins have one characteristic in common, and why I'm able to really accumulate these coins with so much conviction is they've already survived these big crashes before. So to answer your question, DCAing. Question for Brendan for Loco: if you had to end the bull with one coin, what would it be? End the bull, like just be holding the coin into the the bull. ETH, man. I think ETH, like I said,
Yeah,
uh,
really,
I
it's a
want to
good
hear from
one.
Loco too. Yeah, for me,
I think there's only one token for me to hold, whether it's the end of a bull market or just in general to accumulate once you have taken profits from other tokens in this Bitcoin.
absolutely. Yeah, I would say Bitcoin and ETH to me. A lot of people are different. A lot of people still have Bitcoin like, just another tier and then everything else under that. I think ETH, especially the last few months, is kind of for me is up there with Bitcoin as far as like longevity. So I would pick ETH. I would pick ETH and Bitcoin if I could, but Maloof, if I had to pick one, I would just say ETH because I think it just has a lot of a really high ceiling with how much I think is going to be built on Ethereum in the next couple years. So that's an amazing question, man. Thank you for that. I would say Bitcoin. I'm sorry, I would say ETH. For look, I would say Bitcoin. Yeah, I got you, Toji. I'll hit you up after the stream, brother. For real, man, spoke facts. Countries have been good. Brand, you making it easy and understandable. Brother, is Penguin gonna hit 10 billions? Is Penguin gonna hit 10 billions? Yes, I do think Penguin will hit 10 billion, brother. Um, Again, I think what's gonna end up happening is five and 10 billion. I think are gonna be the new one $1 to $3 billion in meme coins. I think on this next run, we're gonna see Pengu, SPX, Mog, Pepe obviously start to hit 5 billion, and it's going to kind of break the paradigm for meme coins. So yes, I think there is a good shot that if we do go strong into 20, I'm sorry, I'm not even sharing the screen. If we go strong into 2026, that Pengu does have a good shot at going to 10 billion. I think five is definitely very conservative from where we're at. But yeah, I could definitely see Pengu going to 10, Ramon. Where do you think ETH will dip to? I don't know. I don't try to focus too much on what price I think it's going to dip to. I think it's just a guess. I think it looks corrective, and most of the move is probably done. Market is recovering. I think Sol is again getting down. Even Sui is a little stable, and Sol and ETH, should we buy Sui? Yeah, I like Sui here. You like Sui here for Loco? I don't know if you can hear me, brother. Um, Normie,
Now you get back. I'm in
yeah,
back.
I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I like Sui, man. I do think that is definitely had a hot run, but I think it will move with Solana as well. You know, at the end of the day, there are new tech, new chains. Well, new, not really new, but it's newer than Solana, and it definitely moves along with with alts as well. So definitely like Sui to outperform most of the L1s in the for the rest of the cycle. So yeah.
100%. Yeah, I like Sui here too. Misfit Hunter reposted the stream. Shout out to you. Regulatory clarity is a huge potential catalyst. Guys, don't forget to like, comment, retweet. Appreciate you, Ramon. When will we get YouTube tutorials and kick? I'm actually working on a lot of educational content right now that I'm going to be releasing through some of the Telegram, potentially through other ways. All going to be free to everybody, though. Do you think the 4-year cycle will continue? So that's a great question. We talk about this kind of every stream, but I'll go give my brief opinion. As far as 4-year cycle, when people say 4-year cycle, they mean the 4-year in the halvening cycle, which would be this year in 2025. So a lot of people are just assuming just because in 2 other cycles that on year 4 we topped out and saw a 50 to 80% crash on Bitcoin, that the same thing's going to happen. Uh, I would say that there is definitely a potential that we do get a large bear market in 26 or 27 if things do get crazy. But I will tell you, it's not 100% like foregone conclusion that Bitcoin is going to dip 50 to 80% again. I think there's a lot of signs, and there's a good argument to make, and to make that there may never be, or at least in the short term, a big multi-year bear market for Bitcoin again. And it looks more like the S&P 500, where we get big, violent corrections every few years, but it just kind of continues on an upward trend on the higher time frames for like a decade plus. Yeah, if you look at the S&P 500, for example, it's been up only kind of since 2014, with kind of big dips in the middle. It's very possible that Bitcoin just does that, where maybe it continues up to 150, then dips back down to 120, then goes to 220, and then dips down to 175, and then goes to 300, and then dips to two. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it definitely could just be that. For me, I I think there's a potential that the 4-year cycle is over. I think there's a really good chance that the traditional 4-year cycle is over in that we don't top out this year. I put out a tweet the other day. I could see this scenario playing out where let's see if I can get to it quickly here. Um, yeah, let's see here, man. Wouldn't it be nuts if Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol pump well into 2026, destroy the 4-year consensus, where we top in 2025, and then top in 2027 when everybody assumes that the 4-year cycle is over? I could see something like that happen. So to answer your question, brother, I think it's impossible to know for sure. I could see either way playing out. What I do say is I think there's a very, very good chance that into 25 and 26 that we do get a very strong period. And then into 2026, me personally, on memes and alts, I'm going to be taking heavy profits. And I think that's just the best option, is you just take profits on the way up regardless. Um, that way you don't have to guess where we're at in the cycle. I think everybody kind of assumes that you have to just take everything. There's just going to be some moment where all of a sudden you just sell 100% of your bag, and that's just not realistic. I personally like to take profits 25% here, 25% at 10x, so on and so forth, which we'll go over here at the end of the stream. That's kind of my way of doing it. So yeah, I hope
Yeah.
that makes sense. I mean, what do you think for Loco? I mean, we talked about this a few times on the stream.
Yeah, we have, and I like to kind of like point out that I've been trying to think about the cycles in a different way than most people do, and I like to compartmentalize kind of like the cycles in different ways, because when you think about what previous cycles were and this one is, now Bitcoin is a $3 trillion asset class, right? When an asset is that big, majorly led by institutions, it normally doesn't have the same amount of sharp corrections that we saw previously, right? So we're not going to have, in my opinion, of course it can happen, but in my opinion, we're not going to have 85% corrections on Bitcoin ever again, right? It's an asset that is being accumulated. If you look at the chart from 20, since the ATS were approved, it's pretty much going at a 45-degree angle, which might have 25, 30, maybe even up to 40% corrections maximum, and then it just get bought up. It's a very efficient market, and it's becoming to, it's starting to pretty much act and really kind of like behave in a way as the stock market is, and as other commodities. And so I like to compartmentalize the cycle in different options. Like when you think about the altcoins, how many altcoin seasons have we had since 2023? And I probably would tell you that we have many, right? We had the gaming one, we had the meme coin one, we had L1s, we had a bunch of different mini altcoin seasons in the last, I would say 4 or 5 years. So when I think about cycles, I don't think about Bitcoin goes down and everything goes down, or Bitcoin goes up, then it stops for a while, and then altcoins run. I think about it in a different way. I think as Bitcoin goes up or stays where it's at, we're gonna have different seasons where altcoins will outperform and will underperform. And that's really has been my vision since pretty much April, when we had that major dip that was mostly affecting altcoins. If you look at Bitcoin, it really didn't dip as much. It's just one of those things that you try to utilize historical data to base on your future decisions or future performance. But in this case, I do believe that things have changed, and so I'm not thinking that 26, 27 will be a bear market. I think it really has to, and again, like how many times have, experts, right, macro expert call for a recession in the last few years, right? How many times have they said that the economy was in shambles and then we are in a tipping point and inflation, blah, 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 blah. When you think about it, the economy is stronger now than it's ever been, right? And yes, you have data like PPI. We can definitely discuss this, brand. You also have tariffs, and then the war in Ukraine and Russia. There's a bunch of things going on, but when you look at the overall picture, the economy is growing, and so I don't believe in this like doom situations where everyone's calling for multi-year bear markets. I do think that the U.S. economy with AI and the growth of GDP is at the tipping point actually to expand at an exponential rate. So that's how I like to see it.
100%. Yeah, no, I think there's a very good shot that we do, like you just said, just continue to grind up. I think if we do get a huge like influx of capital and like Bitcoin just goes from 120 to fucking 300 in a year, and meme coins are, there's a bunch of meme coins at 10, 20, 30, 40, $30 billion. At that point, I think just because there's so much momentum and such a gnarly blow off top, that at that point we could get a bear market. But if we just keep grinding up with no huge mania, then I think there's a good chance that it just continues to grind up for a long time. So I think either way, just taking profits on the way up is always a good strategy. Zilla Taylor says, drop us a brief tip on playing perps. So the way I really play perps, man, is a lot of guys are playing perps in the sense that they're taking a lot of short-term trades where they're taking a bunch of trades a day or a bunch of trades a week. To me, I like to take long swing positions using perps. For example, essentially there's times like from here to January where I was just slowly accumulating a long position. I'm on ETH. I'm meant to be on ETH. Um, where starting not until down here, I started accumulating a long position, taking some drawdown I'm only using about, again, 3 to 5x leverage as well too. For me, I take just like I do with normal spot coins. I like to spot higher time frame corrective behavior and add on corrections for big swing moves I think is going to happen. So where a lot of guys are taking a lot of different high frequency trades, which totally cool. Everybody has their different styles. Me, I like to accumulate longer term, bigger swing positions. Like for example, I kind of stayed out of this whole move down on ETH. My whole view was that when ETH did complete this correction, it would absolutely go crazy after that and go back to the upside. And that's exactly what it did. So starting down here, I started accumulating, took some drawdown for a bit, but as it went into profit, like for example, up here, I took a bit of profit up here, added some on the dip, took some profits up here, added on dips. That's essentially what I'm doing. Is the same thing with spot coins. Is essentially I'm adding on big corrections and taking profits on the way up. And really just I'm a buy and hold type of guy. That's why I like perps a lot. Um, because you can hold positions for a longer period of time. Again, I'm not using crazy leverage. And again, sometimes you might take a little bit of drawdown, might get a little bit eaten up by funding for a bit. But again, once these big swing positions do go into profit, at least for me, they tend to be very, very lucrative. So for me, a lot of times, for example, this year, I really was only accumulating one position um, for this big move up here. So that's kind of how I play perps. I like to accumulate long positions slowly with pretty low leverage, 3 to 5x. Usually, I use 7x sometimes. Right now, I'm about 5x. And again, just accumulating positions for and taking profits on the way up. That's kind of how I play it. Um, Before we move on, let's see. I struggle with taking profits on the way up. It's a psychological game. Yes, 100% wristbands. And that's why you have to have a profit taking system set up ahead of time so that you can take emotion out of it. Bren, can you talk about Troll? Are you bullish? Yeah, Troll's been doing a lot of cool things. I personally don't have a bag of Troll or haven't bought any Troll. A lot of people think that this is the next big meme coin, that it's going to the next one to go to a billion. There's definitely a case to be made because of how big the meme is for Troll, and then there does seem to be a very strong community behind it. It did consolidate here for 3 months and came up out of it very strong. So I personally don't have any. I think right now on the short term, whoever asked, it does look like it's at the beginning stages or like the middle stages of a corrective channel, where I do think maybe after a bit more chopping down that it does look very corrective on the higher time or lower time frames, and probably does move higher here pretty soon. Another coin that I've actually been buying a bit of, and another one is Clippy. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's actually coming out of this corrective channel now. Clippy obviously is a very old meme, or like an old character that used to be on Microsoft Word, but is just recently a lot of streamers and stuff have been using the meme. I don't know exactly how it originated, but um, very strong impulsive move with a very nice corrective behavior here on the higher time frames. I think this one has a very good shot at running back to all time highs, and then as well, they do have a NFT collection. For those of you who have been on any of the streams, been reading my tweets, I am extremely bullish on the convergence of meme coins and NFTs going into 2026. I think meme coin NFTs are going to be one of the strongest narratives, like I said, and I think most of these new projects are going to launch an NFT project alongside their meme coin. It's a way for people to have a tokenized representation of their NFT. We're already starting to see like Project Aeon, for example, the NFT of the SPX 6900 is already starting to go nuts. It's actually pulled back a bit here. I'm actually might buy another one, but was at 1.8, almost 2 ETH here. Again, I think these meme coin NFTs are going to be very strong. And my whole point in saying this is Clippy actually just launched an NFT collection as well. I've been buying a few of these. I think there's going to be a very symbiotic relationship between these meme coin NFTs when these meme coins start to head up. That the NFTs, we've already seen it with Zero Bro and a few others in the past. The NFTs and the meme coins kind of move up together, and I think it's a way to get exposure and kind of play both. So I bought a good bit of Clippy, bought 3 or 4 of these Clippy NFTs, or like 5 of them, and just kind of playing those narratives. I think Clippy gonna go up, and probably the NFTs as well. But opinion on Troll, I think Troll moves higher. You said you had 12 to 15 coins you can DCA. Do you mind going over that list real quick? So yeah, I'll go over a few again. I think this the biggest bang. I'll just go over my portfolio. Maybe like 30 to 35% of my portfolio, like 40% of my portfolio right now is in Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, and stables. About 20 to 25% is in meme coins. Those meme coins, those cult movement meme coins, the SPX, Pengu, Giga, Mog, Lock in, all of that. And then those are probably right. Those ones I named right there, like 6 or 7 of my top coins. And then I like the Superverse in the gaming space, the Taos, the Carrots, the uh, there's several other ones. I think XRP is going to continue to fly. I don't have a huge bag of that. AVAX is probably my top L1 bag. Um, I think Sui's going to do really well. Those probably 10 or 12 coins right there are probably my top in about the 20 coins that I hold. So I think the biggest bang for your buck is going to be in those movement coins that I named. Your insight, okay, I appreciate it. Giga, yeah, think Giga really quickly here. I want to move on to something else, but Giga, I think, is probably the next up or one of the next up to do an SPX type move. I still can't believe this thing is at 130 billion, 130 million still. I think it's at a no brainer for when this meme coin market kind of turns around here soon to go to a billion. And that's extremely conservative. I think it goes much higher. Giga Chad, one of the biggest memes in the entire world. Everybody kind of recognizes Giga Chad, has an extremely optimistic, strong cult like community that survived. I mean, what is this? 6 or 7, 70% plus dips since 2023. Uh, and then they're shit. Yeah, it's right here. They're building a fitness brand. They just have they just check all the boxes for me to just absolutely explode here in the next couple months. So I really like Giga here, really like Mog, even Pengu's pulling back nicely. And yeah, the next thing besides that I've been looking at is and taking small positions in creator coins. I think that might be another big wave. I know a lot of people did friend tech and stuff like that, so they're kind of have a bad taste in their mouth. But I think creator coins on Zora and stuff like that could have a big wave as well. But I like Giga, Mog, SPX, where Giga is probably the nicest meme opportunity that I see right now. Um, for Look, have you been adding to memes at all or any other type of alts recently? Or
To be honest, man, I've been pretty steady on what I've been doing for the last few months, and Bitcoin has always been my. The reason why is because I haven't really seen an overall strength on the altcoin market. Of course, Ethereum was one of those that I gave you kudos for because I didn't really see that coming, and it's fantastic that some of you guys did well. I missed that train, so I'm not going to catch it up right now. I'm gonna wait a little bit before I add some Ethereum. And there's also like things that I want to do. I wanted to buy a CryptoPunk. I've always wanted to, and maybe that's my Ethereum beta play. I had some SPX, so I consider that some Ethereum exposure as well
nice.
on the meme coin side of things. And then my other Solana meme coin was Farcoin, which now is undergoing a significant kind of like consolidation / correction. It's been actually pretty reactive to market news, so I haven't really done much on it. I wanted to bring back the question that you guys had around perps, and I like to follow a very simple rule with perps, and it's like no more than 10% of my portfolio size will ever be in perps. The reason why
Mhm.
is, perps, whether it's like 3, 5x, 10x, it's a mental game. It's also a very time consuming game, and in most cases, when you look at even like the best traders, even Brand, when you do a swing trade, whether it's like a few months or more, or even it's a few days or a few hours, you have to really be very smart and very diligent about your profit taking points. Otherwise, you're going to be running it up and down. You're going to be paying fees. And you're going to get it screwed. So I do run perps in a similar way that Brent does with low leverage. And I like to do, points where I see the market is at oversold territories, and I don't complicate myself doing a lot of trades per month. I've been doing less and less because the truth is, if you really bought Bitcoin in 2022, you've outperformed the whole market, right? You really have outperformed the whole market, and in most cases, when you look at the smartest investors in the space, the least that you do, the better. getting in and out of trade is normally not a good idea. So, I'm probably close to 70% now in Bitcoin, a little bit of cash. And then I have what I mentioned. I have some Hyperliquid, some Farcoin, some SPX, and I want to grow my NFT exposure. So that's pretty much my portfolio nowadays.
100%. No, yeah, I agree. I think less definitely is more, especially on perps and just in general. Like, I think most people's problem in crypto, in problem, I mean, most people, like, what's separating them from being profitable or whatever you want to, making money, whatever, is not that they don't have a crazy strategy or they're not smart enough. And it's, in fact, it's quite the opposite. It's they're doing too much. They're taking too many trades. They're overthinking. They're making the biggest thing, making a big deal out of small things. Oh, the Chinese have a fucking 8% on tariffs this month. There's no way Bitcoin's going to go up. Just kind of trying to make a big deal out of relatively small things. I think that's what most separating most people from success, where if they just eliminated and stopped kind of overthinking and just started thinking more and doing less and it just, like you said, just taking less trades and being more deliberate with everything, I think you're way better off. So, wow, that's crazy. I just realized I was in a text message and it was just recording the last like 2 minutes of what I was saying. So that was crazy. But Brent, are you bullish on UF? Oh, somebody asked about Popcat. Yeah, I see Popcat pretty similar as Giga right now. I think it's been consolidating for a few months here, and very likely probably moves up higher. I'm still more bullish on stuff like Giga, SPX, Mog, Lock In. That's more based on a movement and an idea, and less on a singular figure or meme. Um, but with that being said, I think Popcat probably has a good move up. UFD, honestly, I've not been checking in with UFD or what's that guy's name? Not Mike. What the fuck is his name? Rick? What is his fucking name?
Ron?
Ron. Yes, my bad, Ron. Uh no, the guy, I haven't been keeping up with Ron or how active anything else other than just looking at this chart every once in a while. And I will say the consolidation's bullish. Other than that, I couldn't tell you enough about what's going on other than that to have like a strong opinion. I will say if it does break above this consolidation at 72 mil, it very likely is going to move higher. So I don't know. I would ask yourself if there still seems like a strong community. There still seems like there's people believing it. If Ron is still doing his streams and you're still a believer, this may be the time to accumulate or at least hold. You gotta decide that for yourself. Giga Chad dev commit. He's gonna push, and Giga Chad's already biggest community. Yeah, Giga Chad's great. Peanut's more of uh, a up in the air for me as well. Right, it's more of a singular idea slash moment. It is on Coinbase. I think it could go either way. It could run it back to all time highs, or it could not do anything. I really just don't have a strong opinion. Cody, ask your question again, bro. I didn't see it. Have you guys noticed today's bags app? So, yes, I need you guys in the chat right now. I'm going to admit to you 100%, like I've not been locked in on crypto Twitter as I usually am, kind of knowing the details of all this little fucking drama. But let me know in the chat. I know the bags app, this guy Finn created the bags app, and it's kind of another launch pad. And I did see that he went on the Mr. Beast and Aiden Ross stream and didn't really. People are saying it's mediocre, but let me know in the chat, like, what's the big drama? Like, what are your guys' thoughts on it? I don't really have a strong
Uh,
thought on
yeah.
Bag app itself. I haven't really used it. I mean, what can you tell us what you know for Loco, if anything?
I was doing some digging, and it looks like even not just what happened yesterday with the Mr. Beast token and all these other tokens that have kind of like questionable, price action. But it also apparently in 2024, Backstab sold about 40,000 OG cards or NFTs for 1.5 sold each, and they raised about 10 million. I was seeing. So looks
Really?
like the story, yeah, it looks like the story goes back to 2024, and there's more to it than we even thought. So, but it looks like it was founded or started by one of the guys that was behind D Gods, this guy Finbags. Other than that, what I just seen is that again, all these streams that happen, anything that's related to a token, and when you let people do things with tokens on celebrities, it always or almost always ends up bad. We've had so many of these experiences when the market heats up that it's always a celebrity or some sort of like guy, whether it's Sahil or these guys. just come back, create a token, and of course it always ends up bad. So I don't really have much to say that be careful with these things. If you want to gamble with a few bucks here and there, is fine, but never really put your a big portion of your portfolio or your money into things like this, because they normally always end up bad, and we know it from experience. So yeah,
100%.
be
Yeah,
smart.
I think celebrity meme coins where they just step in and make a meme coin where it's just directly just a coin with nothing behind it. I do agree. Yeah, it's been mostly almost 100% just bad look, and I do think there may be in something I don't know if we'll talk about on this stream or maybe next stream more specifically, but creator coins that are uh, tied directly to apps like Zora or Base, where it's more inherently connected to the creator's content, stuff like that, where it's made about the content and the creator itself and not just this meme coin. I think that's something that could work. But 100%, they actually did for this Bags app thing, launch a Mr. Beast token where they were essentially the token was they were going to give the fees generated by the LP to Mr. Beast, um, but somehow it rugged. So yeah, I mean, like you said, most of these celebrity things end up going bad, and of course, Mr. Beast wasn't behind this himself. It was just like the coin they created for him. But yeah, you could just tell from the Aiden Ross stream that they definitely were utilizing the crypto money, but there's just like a certain stigma a lot to people coming from crypto and just going what's going on. But again, I think this regulatory clarity is going to allow founders to actually build cool shit, companies to actually get involved for the first time, and that's going to make it more acceptable. And I think right now the only celebrities that have stepped into crypto besides Trump have created a coin because they need the money. There hasn't been a celebrity that stepped into crypto that should create a coin, meaning they actually have stuff to tie to it to make it successful, to offer access and all that different stuff. I think in the future that could happen uh, because of the regulatory clarity and it being acceptable. But yeah, so far it's been a shit show for sure. Um, do you still have Housecoin, Bren? Yes, I still have Housecoin. Celeb and influencer coins are such cash grabs. Yeah, exactly. So far they have been. I think there's something to be said about creator coins tied to apps like Base and Tezora that could be successful, but celebrity meme coins, yeah. Bro, seriously, crypto's making me bald. The only gold coin was Trump. Will Trump coin gonna make a comeback? That's a good question. I really do like Trump. Actually here. Again, yeah, no, this looks super corrective going into this low. I think when we get this strong, yeah, I got it. When we get this strong meme coin kind of turnaround, I think something like Trump, because of the team's ability to create attention, that's all this is. SPX, Giga, Mog, Fartcoin, all of it's based off of its ability to create attention, whether through its content or whatever. Pengu through its ties to obviously the Pudgy Penguins and Luca Nets. Nobody has more ability to create attention to their meme coin than the president of the United States. We already saw them do the dinners. Obviously, that happened in shitty conditions. But if they launch a few things like that while meme coins are strong, this thing's running it back to all time highs, I think, or at least going back to 5-10 billion uh, market cap. So I really like Trump here in the short term. What about Alex Becker coin if it comes out? That's actually going to be a good one to keep an eye on. For those of you who don't know, Alex Becker is launching a meme coin. He's taking zero of the coin. He's doing it completely for fun. Going to be a fair launch. So I think that's one to keep an eye on. And I think actually has a shot. Again, for the same reasons I said about Trump, it's all about the ability for the team, the core team, and especially the founders' ability to create attention around the asset. So yeah, I really like Trump here. Bitcoin getting strong day by day, 100%. Let's go ahead and go to NFTs a bit.
Yeah, you don't want to go to the PPI. I don't think it's no interest for that. I mean, it's one of the reasons why we dipped, but you think it
Unless
makes
there's
sense
something
being
else
what it is.
you want to touch
Brent, can
on for
you hear
like.
me?
Uh,
Brent, can you hear me? Am I cutting out? I think we might have lost Brand. Okay. Yeah, no, I can chime in while he reconnects. I can chime in on the PPI, and we can definitely get into NFTs afterwards. But you know, many people are asking why we had the dip, and to be honest, we're back at prices that we saw last Sunday, perhaps even Monday, on Bitcoin. But the reason
I'm
we
back.
had this figure in PPI, by the way. Oh, Brent, you're back. You there? Okay, he's not
Yeah,
back.
yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
So
I'm here.
yeah, I
My
was
bad.
going
No,
to
keep
do a
going.
quick overview of the PPI, and then we can get into our NFTs. There's a few things I wanted to talk about too. But so PPI is a producer price index, right? And what it does, it really measures what businesses in the U.S. pay for goods and services, right? So we had a low CPI, which sent the markets higher, but the PPI was actually much higher than we thought. It jumped about almost a 1% point, and it's the hottest it's been since 2022 in 3 years, right? So the reason why stocks and crypto slipped, it's because when we have hot PPI numbers, that means that pretty much what it does, it tempers the Fed to cut, you know, it tempers the Fed to not cut rates, right? And we had a 99%, I think it was 99% in polling market chance of rate cuts. And with these numbers, a lot of investors are starting to get scared that maybe that doesn't happen, and how many rate cuts we're going to have for the rest of the year, right? So, this is one of the reasons why it was a surprise. And when you have surprises to in the market, whether it's good or bad, it normally tends to kind of like increase volatility. In this case, we had, what it means is with higher inflation on the producer side, is normally tighter for longer, right? So people don't want to take risks. They go for higher yields, and therefore, it's a risk off in equities. Risk off in equities also means risk off in crypto. So that's why we had the dip. That might take a week or so to settle down, but I think after that, like Ren said, it's going to be up only, and it's August, so maybe there for the next few weeks we see a slow type of like correction slash consolidation here, and then much higher for Q4 IMO. So just something to take into account, even though Trump was pushing for 300 points or 3 points here on rate cuts, and he's been pushing the Fed to do so. It might take a little bit longer than we expected. But let's switch back to NFTs. I think people are probably not very interested in PPI and what it is. Just wanted to make sure that everyone understood why Bitcoin went from 123 to 118 in about 24 hours. So yeah.
100%. No, definitely. There's definitely a lot of people I'm sure who are wondering about all of that. I know a lot of that's confusing, especially for those who don't have finance background. So definitely appreciated. For me, I haven't been keeping up with as many interviews and different things about these, macro subjects as I've had in past years. I like to keep up on other important things for sure. But from what I understand, I do think that if we do get rate cuts and QE like into 2026, it probably will act as a kind of fuel to the fire for crypto. And the guy Leo and others have actually, Leo Lanza, who I was showing earlier, have actually theorized that potentially QE and the rate cuts could push Bitcoin, or at least ETH and Bitcoin, its bull market, like at least really strong bull market into 2027. And again, just kind of act as more rocket fuel for the crypto bull market. So definitely be interesting, and we'll definitely something we'll be keeping an eye on the show. But yeah, let's get to NFTs. Zilla says, excluding V Friends, Pudgy type shit, what other NFTs you think you got potential? So that's a great question. For me, I laid out here a few weeks ago that I think the three biggest, for me at least, the ones I want to be focusing on, and the three biggest niches I think have potential to really go crazy is one, the IP plays like the Pudgies, V Friends, Azuki, Bored Apes, the ones that survived 2021, and then the ones that'll sprout up over the next few years. I think they're going to dominate. I think a lot of the V Friends, Pudgy Penguins, Azuki, Bored Apes have the shot at not only NFTs going up in price, but them becoming some of the biggest brands in the world, um, off the back of digital assets going up and the power of NFTs. So that's really where I have most of my money in. Again, is in the V Friends and some Pudgies and some Ape exposure and a Mutant and some stuff like that.
And then number two, I think, is going to be digital art and CryptoPunks. I kind of just group those in together. I think digital art with provenance, with the big, the Beeple and the X copy and all that will do really well. As well as what I really like as far as like a low cap or like a low price exposure to digital art is the wonky stonks, which I'm really bullish on. Created by Crypto Kaleo. A lot of you guys know him back in 2021. Has time in the game, digital art based on charts. It was his way of trying to get traders or chart people into NFTs back in 2021. And this is a project that I really like. I hope this loads here. But it's a project that I really like that has a relatively low entry right now at 0.08, which is around what, like $300. Um, yeah, I think this is one that I really like. But yeah, art and CryptoPunks, and then the last one, and which I think is really starting to see a little bit of momentum right now, is the meme coin NFTs. And you're seeing on the NFT, at least on Solana, the top meme or top NFTs right now performing. A few of them are the meme coin NFTs. You got, I don't know if Fragana is one, but you got the little chillers. Um, you got a few of the other ones, but I really like the meme coin. If you're looking for probably some low cap exposure, a way you're going to be able to play the NFT bull run without having to put thousands or thousands of dollars in, is the meme coin NFTs. Like whenever a meme coin sprouts up that you're really bullish on, if there's an NFT project that sprouts up, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities in that realm. So right now, I think the two top dogs in meme coin NFTs again are those Aeons I showed you earlier, and then my biggest bet, I do have some Aeons, but the biggest bet that I really like is the Sproto Gremlins, which are obviously the meme coin NFT connected to the ticker Bitcoin community. I think these have been consolidating for like 3 or 4 months here and have a really good shot at having a nice run into the multiple ETH come probably next year. So another one, obviously, that I have with my PFP that I've had for almost a year now is the Pond NFT, the FWOG, obviously FWOG, the coin. There's an NFT attached. I don't know why Magic Eden's lagging so hard, but yeah, stuff like this. This is a more of a one-on-one collection. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Brent, I gotta jump here soon, but I was thinking like we should probably go through the anime Atsuki FUD. Have you been following that one on X?
you said the FUD.
Yeah, there was some fun. I mean, I don't know if you know who this guy Wizard of Soho is, but apparently he was like, So the last thing is that Suki apparently released a limited sale of about $75,000 worth of watches or whatever they're selling through a
Yeah,
partnership. You can probably check out their X. And so this guy Wizard of Soho was saying like, Azuki keeps extracting while the token is down, massively, and with no plans to actually grow whether the token or the community. So I don't know if you have any thoughts or anyone in the audience has thoughts on Asuki, but the NFTs went from three to down to like close to under two ETH. Asuki main collection, and then the token is being, you know, I know it's a lot of mogging here back and forth, but I don't know if you've seen it because it's something that definitely one of the top collections of 2021, going through a period of like FUD, just like we saw Doodles, Cool Cats, and other ones. So I don't know if you followed or if you have any thoughts on it, but definitely
yeah.
the
I
token
didn't.
is.
I didn't see the FUD by Wizard of Soho, but yeah, from what I understand, they're doing these watches through this a collab with this famous watch brand. The way I kind of view this is like I don't really view it as an extraction, right? It's like nobody's forcing anybody to buy these watches. There's definitely a case to be made, like, yeah, whatever, the NFTs are still down 90%. I think the next few years are definitely crucial for all these NFT brands to really, especially if there's an NFT bull run, it's kind of like crunch time to really start to make an impact and grow the business and like grow the mind share. But I don't know. I don't know if I see these watches as like quote unquote extraction. I think it's like a cool collaboration that potentially puts more mind share on the Azuki brand for collectors who
Yeah.
want to buy it, right? As far as
Yeah.
Azuki, I think they're one of the few that are actually attempting to build something big. They did acquire anime.com, which is actually pretty massive to have that website and that domain. Who knows if they're going to deliver on it fully or if it ends up working out. But I do like the vision have a decentralized anime
I
studio
think,
and all that.
yeah,
So I will
I
say
agree
that
with you.
next 2 years is
I
crunch
do not
time.
have
But yeah, go ahead.
any thoughts on any bad thoughts on the founders. I just think that it's one of those things that we had elementals drop, and that was already seen like a little bit of not an extraction, but necessary to drop another collection where they raised 40 million, and then they dropped the token, right? Which we get it. The token went up and down. That's normal. What happens when when you have such a big expectations on on launch day. But you saw tokens like Pengu or other NFT projects kind of like rebound a little bit on their tokens, whereas anime hasn't really been moving. So I guess part of it is like with such a big treasury, right? With such a large treasury and such a large mindset, they haven't really, or it doesn't seem that they haven't really been prioritizing the token, anytime soon.
Yeah,
So
I don't
yeah.
know. I've actually been posting in the channel for a bit. I again, I hadn't seen this FUD or whatever from Soho, but um, anime looks great to me chart wise and everything else. I think anime is probably the next social currency or NFT meme coin to pop off because I think it's obvious that we're gonna have a strong period for NFTs. And Azuki being one of those top projects, again, who knows if it'll get to the level of apes and pudgies and floor price. It's kind of crunch time. But with that being said, I think the anime token's already been running and it has a good shot at running. And I'm not going to speak to Soho specifically. I don't really know him too well, but I think a lot of people just take the and I don't know the specific situation, but like you just take the opportunity to dunk on stuff for whatever reason. But I don't know. I like anime here actually, and I think it has chart wise and everything has a lot of signs that it probably will run. But yeah, I do agree that the next couple years for all of these NFT projects are really crunch time. And the only way these things are going to be worth money in 5 or 10 years is if people actually give a fuck about Azuki, or they give a fuck about VFriends, or they give a fuck about Pengu or Pudgies, um, or about Pudgy Penguins, because that's the only reason I Pokemon and all that is worth anything is because it's the biggest IP in the world, right? So, um, great points. You said you got to hop off here in a second.
Yeah, I gotta run here, but it was a great stream. And if there's anything else that you guys want to chat, put it on the comments. I'll try to respond. Other than that, I'll see you guys on Tuesday. And I know Brandon's probably gonna keep going, but yeah, thanks for everyone for joining. And yeah, we'll do it again on Tuesday. So have a good weekend, you.
All right, brother. See you later. Yeah, I'm gonna hop on. I'm gonna stay on for another 5 or 10 minutes, but definitely shoot for Loco follow. Like he said, we'll be back here on Friday for another stream. Today's pretty quiet. Definitely plan on having some people on to hear their stories and stuff as the market heats up. But right now, just wanted to do this stream to chop it up with you guys, go over the Bitcoin chart and kind of maybe give some people some peace of mind. Hopefully, ignore a lot of the noise going on. I think right now is just the most obvious time in history to be bullish and optimistic on crypto. I think again, next few weeks could be a little dicey. I mean, who whatever dicey is like a fucking 10% move on Bitcoin potentially, but other than that, we just got to wait this thing out. And I think 2020 end of 25 and the beginning of 26, I think are going to be some exciting times. But let me know what you guys, anything else you want to look at, anything you've been looking at. Um, Not much has been going on. Like I said, I've just been accumulating my strong coins while I can, and just taking it easy. Continue to learn, continue to put out content, continue to do these streams, and get some rest. Because for those of you guys who know, who've been around for a while, during the times where things are crazy, it's hard to get rest and hard to focus. So it's good. Soul 250 by next stream, please. That'd be fucking great. But I don't know. I think next few weeks we could see some downside. But do not stress. Let's see. I want to look at the comments here. Me when Bren lost connection. That's funny as fuck. Um, but yeah. Shout out to everybody new follows. Let's Hakuna Matata. Shout out to you. Loved your take on Troll and Clippy. Thanks for appreciate. Thanks for the. Thank you for that, Cooked. Um, Less is more. Let's see. Thanks for the follows and thanks for listening to my stupid coins. Yeah, shout out to you, Arcane. Shout out Sag. Shout out everybody. What's everybody doing this weekend? Anything? Bro, don't you play some FPS game? Don't you chill? This market analysis will make mind blow. How do you do that? Do I play FPS game? No, not much of a gamer, to be honest. How do you see my comment? Hope you see my comments. Cody, I didn't see any comments from you, bro. If you want to retweet it or redo it, I'll do it. But yeah, I'll probably stay on for another five or so minutes, guys. I gotta get some breakfast. But yeah, like I said, just right now, like I'm doing, I'm just keeping it simple, accumulating, chilling, and that's what I advise you do too. Not to do too much. It's really easy to blow up and lose everything during these times, but I think just surviving and just buying and holding good shit right now is just the move. Could you check crime real quick? Yeah, I'll check crime. Yeah, if you guys could like, comment, retweet. We are just coming up on the end of the stream. If you guys do want to see what we were talking about, actually, I want to go over a profit taking strategy really quick so I can put that out there in a clip. But fucking, what was I gonna say? Yeah, if you guys could like, retweet, comment, bookmark. If you guys do want to see what we were talking about, Bitcoin, East Sol, where I see them going, and I think on why I think this last Bitcoin dip could be the last low before we get an explosion, not only in Bitcoin and the majors, but the entirety of the crypto market. Definitely watch the stream back. We'll be back here on Tuesday, Friday, definitely going over everything going on in the crypto market, kind of what I'm doing, and just chopping up with you guys, answering questions. And throughout this year, definitely want to have some people on and hear some other people's perspectives as well. But feels like market pumps for one day and then dumps for the next 7 days. Yeah, we really haven't come out of this big correction. ETH's kind of been on its own, but other than that, the whole rest of the market is still in kind of a corrective phase, and I think that is going to change soon here, where it's going to be obvious that everything's kind of going crazy. But let's see. But yeah, like, comment, retweet, bookmark. Be back on Tuesday at 10 a.m. PST every single Tuesday and Friday from now on at 10 a.m. PST, unless got something crazy going on. But yeah, you guys can catch us Tuesday, Friday, 10 a.m. PST. Definitely shoot me a follow on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok as well. Just trying to start to expand the last few months on those platforms. And if you guys want to see anything on the stream, you have any comments, anything that any guests you want to see on the stream, any suggestions, shoot me a DM. Always love to chop it up with you guys. You guys are half of the stream. Honestly, I wouldn't be doing this shit if it wasn't for you guys. So appreciate you. Can you provide the links to the NFTs you suggested? Yeah, Eastope. I'll under the stream right now here in a second. I'll leave the links to VFriends, Ledger Art, or what's it called, Wonky Stonks, and then the few others I named. Just give me a few minutes after the stream. I'll do that for you. Tuesday and Friday, guys. Just remember, appreciate you. Good stream, and Bren, appreciate you. Yeah, Yap. Shout out Yap. Shout out Wristband. Shout out Ramon. Shout out Toji. Shout out Andia Yad. Shout out Rahman. Shout out Zilla. Shout out Flips. Shout out Cody. Cody Bryant. That's such a fucking fire name. Rahman. Toji again. Shout out every single one of you. Love you guys. Appreciate you. And shout out to you guys for staying active in the market. Honestly, this is like homie said a second ago, it seems like the market goes up, one day and down the next. It's really easy to get discouraged, and especially in some of these coins that haven't moved in a few months. But the best is yet to come. I'm telling you, I've seen these periods before where coins will correct for several months, and then all of a sudden the great coins just have a massive resurgence. So it's just a matter of time. And fucking yeah. With that being said, guys, I'm fucking starving. So I'm gonna go ahead and head out. Definitely like, retweet, comment, bookmark on the stream. We'll be back on Tuesday for more. Definitely make sure to follow myself, and for Loco, if you haven't already, turn on post notifications and check out the Boss Man Calls Telegram channel in the link in my bio. That's where you'll get that's where I put all my in-depth trade ideas, the Pengus, SPX, Gigas, all of that. I posted, you know, days ahead of time or weeks ahead of time before they took off in the Telegram. Tips and tricks, live streams, giveaways from both myself and my business partner and good friend Boss Man. So definitely check that out. And yeah, with that, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your weekend. And